Hello, Bakugan Brawlers. Welcome back to the San Diego Bakugan Brawlers. I never thought I would actually cover Bakugan content, but here we are. This here was a photo taken from the Las Vegas Licensing Expo 2026, roughly about a month ago. I really wanted to cover this content earlier, but we hit 300 subscribers, so I've put in my effort to focus on that video. So I kind of missed the deadline on this, but I still want to talk about it anyways. This photo, I believe, was the one that trended the most, which was shared by Spinmaster LinkedIn, although I'm going to be very honest, I cannot find the original source anywhere. I get the impression they've taken it down for one very notable reason, it being this, a Bakugan booth. This photo also circulated around just a little bit of a banner with a red Hydronoid. We did get a much better close-up look of this later, I believe, by Heist Dragon. So here you can see it is a red single-headed Hydronoid with what appears to be a 20th anniversary logo, although this logo seems to be the third generation, I think, with just a red palette. Same thing with Hydronoid, I assume it's just a red palette and it's not like they're making a Pyrus Hydronoid. There's actually been a little bit of speculation about the 20th anniversary, and a lot of it stemmed from this, which was sent around social media for a little bit. For those of you who have not seen the news, Spinmaster responded to Aaron Fox's inquiry about the current state of Bakugan, so this was give or take about 4 months ago, back in February. This was done by Tammy Smitham, which is the Vice President of Communications and Corporate Citizenship. I understand you were inquiring on the status of Bakugan. The series is currently on hold at the moment. We are working towards celebrating the anniversary in 2027 and are currently developing plans to reignite the franchise. So he is referring to the 20th anniversary of the franchise. So this is what initially sparked some interest into whether or not we were going to get any surprises, and Las Vegas Expo just expanded upon that. Now, I want to be honest with you. The only thing we've heard about, even inklings of this, was the live action movie. Supposedly we are making one since last year, I believe. Now, when I first heard about this, I was like, what is a licensing expo? I've never heard of that before. I've had my fair share of conventions, but I haven't heard of that. So from what I understand to be toy licensing is the process by which a toy brand obtains permission from another company or entity to use their IP on their products. This can be using characters, logos, and other recognizable features that are associated with their IP. So essentially what it seems to me is that this is a networking site. This is a place, in particular, they mention entertainment, sports, fashion, gaming, so this would probably include a lot of toys too. People go to Licensing Expo to network. Their entire goal is to create interactions and network with people in order to make a collaboration between companies. And this makes sense, judging by what Licensing Expo has on their exhibitors. They are primarily appealing to people who are in the distribution, whether it's buyers, retailers, merchandisers, manufacturers, wholesalers, brand and IP owners. So what it seems to me is that Spinmaster had a booth at Licensing Expo in order to appeal to other companies to help them expand their Bakugan product for the upcoming 20th anniversary. Here is a much better blown up view from Heist Dragon from Reddit. Whether or not he took the picture or not, that's a completely different question. But I just wanted to analyze this first. So right here we have a huge backdrop of classic G1. We have here Runo, Masquerade, obviously Hydronoid, Dan, Tigrera, and Gorum. I do know some Japanese. It's mostly saying fight. This one says Runo Brawl, which I'm quite interested by that phrase, how they picked Runo. And then this one says Dragonoid, and then let's brawl. So a lot of just really weird phrases in Japanese. To be fair though, I am not the most familiar with the Japanese anime because I just heard the dub, but I am quite curious. We don't see here Bakugan Brawl, just different iterations of the word brawl, right? We have here time to brawl, let's brawl. I did notice a lot of fight, which seems a lot more aggressive for kids, although I know they're still appealing to kids anyways. We have here the original logo, so this is the Gen 1 logo with the 20th anniversary stamped on top. And then we have a different one here, which is a 20th anniversary with a single Hydronoid head. I love this one so much better than the one that they introduced before on the banner. This is really classic. This is something you would see like on the cardboard of the toy. But yeah, just very interesting to see. It's just G1 in the background, stylized black, white, red, so no color from anyone else. And then just a bunch of toys here on the shelf, which I'll just cover in a sec. But this really shocked me, like very clear G1 appreciation, which would make sense considering that this is the 20th anniversary of Gen 1. However, this implies that we are celebrating the franchise here, as you say. So they are not limiting themselves to just G1 in this celebration. Now, just going down the product from top to bottom, we have here a deluxe Delta Dragonoid. So this was during their time which they were sponsored with Sega, and I believe this is the only one here sponsored Spinmaster Sega toys, as far as I can tell. And then over here on the right, we have the Special Assault Ventry. I believe this is the one that was given out to sponsors or tournament winners. So I'm very impressed to see a G3 appear on here, which I gotta say is absolutely beautiful if you've ever seen videos of this opened. I think the sphere inside is absolutely amazing. But I think this is one was worth promoting because this was a limited edition thing, so this is probably something they're appealing to their investors, is like, hey, we're going to have limited edition products that are going to hold well in the market over time. Like, I think most of these are like listed for like $150 or something, although I've seen less. And then going down, we have here a Bedrock Dragonoid. So this has been covered by a Joystick Jesse. If you ever want to see a video of this up close, it's quite small in my opinion, 1/10 size, but I gotta say the detail on it is amazing. For the life of me though, I cannot determine what the left figure is. Probably a collaboration with China or something. And then over here we have the limited edition, I believe it's Archleon, Geogon Trap. I believe these were also limited edition toward tournament winners too. So again, this is also appealing the same way as Ventry is. How we have limited edition product for players. And then obviously there you can't miss the Funko Pop. That one's pretty obvious. They had Funko Pop release I think about 4 years ago, I think. So clearly they are introducing all of these different types of products, because besides balls, what are they promoting? Now, I think this is a pretty big question. Are we going to see the legacy balls? Are we going to see the Gen 1 designs? And my personal understanding of the 20th anniversary is no. It seems very unlikely. This is cited by both Elfie, who had a first-person source in the Spinmaster, as well as Ventus Knights from the Battle Brawler community. While Spinmaster owns the brand, which is the G1, G2, G3, Sega Toys supposedly holds either the rights to the original CAD designs or the original models of G1. This is excluding tech, because backward tech was done entirely by Sega, so we would not be expecting to see any tech representation during the 20th anniversary. As far as Elfie's source was concerned, there wasn't any plans to work with Sega on G1. So this is a question that a lot of people have, is if, hey, will they reintroduce anime accurate balls Will they reintroduce ones that they haven't been produced, like the mechanical Bakugan from New Vestroya? There's a lot of those types of questions, and judging just by this, my initial appearance of the 20th anniversary is no. It is also just entirely supported by the fact that nothing in the booth was a G1 ball, right? We have here a bunch of figures and other products, so it just stands to reason that we will not be receiving any, even though I think Spinmaster is well aware of their demographic. Now, what could Spinmaster do? Obviously, for the 20th anniversary, we have that live action movie that we know nothing about. So clearly I would expect them in 2027 to release the trailer and maybe the movie, but primarily the trailer, I bet. Gen 4, it has been a couple years since Gen 3, so it makes sense. There is a small gap between Gen 2 and Gen 3. There's a small gap between Gen 3 and Gen 4. So I could totally see them creating the announcement for Gen 4. Or we could totally see an anime that reinvests into the original shows or the previous shows. Same thing with the live actions, which I'm not quite sure how they're going to do it, other than like the Transformers movie, how they completely redesign all the Transformers for the live action. I can totally see them doing that here too, where they're going to redesign the Gen 1 balls. They are still going to be greenlit for Gen 2 or Gen 3. I personally am not too familiar with this, but I think there's quite a few anime accurate Gen 2 balls that weren't made due to them being different, of like Rapid Strike or something like that. So I'm not quite sure about that, but I think if there was any missing balls, this would be the perfect opportunity for them to reprint them. Essentially anything that they could do with Gen 1 balls just being done with Gen 2, right? Re-released in character packs or whatnot, that's still all fair game. I also believe they could maybe introduce gameplay adjacent stuff. Playmats were somewhat common during Gen 2. I feel like if they wanted to redo any of this, they could. I also feel like they completely had a missed opportunity to not print card sleeves. Right? Remaking card sleeves for Gen 1 or designing ones for Gen 2, like with Bushiroad or something. And then, like, the Baku clip, right? So these are all things that are, like, adjacent to gameplay without being the Sega balls themselves. Something to note here, I'm just going to put it out there as, like, a wish list, is that by technicality, if you want to think about it, the original video game with Leonidas and Vladitor was actually produced by Activision, not by Sega. Now, whether or not they do or don't own the models is up to debate, but this was just a personal question that, like, I thought that perhaps they could have somebody at Activision allow Spinmaster to produce Leonidas and Vladitor. Personally, I think this is a stretch anyways, but I just wanted to point that out there, though. If you look around the case, you'll not see any logo on Sega, even though clearly they're using the Sega molds, I suppose. Obviously, as they pitched during the booth, we have toys, posable toys, and statues, right? So these 1/10, 1/7 scale models, I think, is something they could totally do, especially if they have connections with Japan, the ability to make high quality figures. I would really hope that they have one of the cast, so it's not just always Dan and Drago, but we have like the others, right? At the bare minimum, Runo, Alice, Masquerade, right? To make a series of them, I think would be a really cool idea. And then clothing and wearables. This is something that I just completely skipped over, but in the very first picture, you see here a jacket with Dan on a t-shirt. So clearly they have in consideration wearables. This could probably include anywhere between jackets, beanies, and purses or jewelry, I suppose. And can I just also mention how we have a completely missed opportunity here of not producing the masks, right? Like how popular it would have been to have sold the Masquerade or the Spectra masks at toy stores. It just made so much sense, Granted though, they did make gauntlets, I suppose, and gauntlets had their cards and playable gimmicks, but this is just so much more interesting to me, I think, especially if they made like a high quality one made of like actual metal that you can see through instead of just a sheer of plastic. But as far as I understood it, Spinmaster tends to very well appeal to the kid base. That seems to be their goal, but it would just be so cool to have a high quality like masquerade mask built. Now, what are your thoughts and predictions? I would love to hear them, and please, if you're interested in the rest of the channel, we have brawls, we have shorts, we have repair videos, please feel free to like and subscribe.